You'd had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African-American anchor in this business before I joined him in prime at CNN, Don Lemon. He's boasting about getting him fired. He thinks that is somehow going to be a big, flag for his run for president. Your thoughts on him? Because you've been back and forth with him online.
You know, when he first started, I thought, okay, here's an Indian American, funny name, we disagree. Hopefully he makes a good showing or does something well. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Joy. My phone blew up with other Indian Americans saying, make it clear he doesn't speak for us. Yeah. I mean, to sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian American community in this country holds a huge debt to the African American community. If it weren't for the civil rights movement, the 1965 Immigration Reform Act wouldn't have passed. My parents wouldn't have come to America. Before that, basically, immigrants from Asia and Africa were not allowed to come. It was highly discriminatory.
It's really ironic because neither his nor my parents could have come here under the rules before the Civil Rights Act, before that 65 Civil Rights Bill. But he's acting as if the NRA somehow saved African Americans in the Civil War. The NRA wasn't even formed until 1871. Well, he doesn't know anything about African American history. He clearly doesn't know the reasons for the Civil War because he thinks the purpose of the Civil War was to get black people the right to bear arms. Well, I mean, what?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy getting some backlash from the race hustlers of the left once again because they really don't like this guy. And the reason why they don't like Vivek Ramaswamy is because he is a direct counterexample to their narrative when it comes to so-called people of color. And we all know what the liberal narrative is, which is that all people of color are victims, right? They're victims because white supremacy and systemic racism are holding so-called people of color back, okay? And because of that, Vivek Ramaswamy is supposed to be a leftist. He's supposed to be a Democrat. He's supposed to be against the GOP, right? He's supposed to be against conservatives, but he's not, right? He's actually a conservative. He's running for president, okay, in the Republican Party, and he's a narrative destroyer, okay? He destroys the leftist narrative, especially when it comes to so-called people of color. And because of that, they can't stand him, right? They can't stand him. So again, that brings me to this video I want to talk about, which is Vivek Ramaswamy going off on Joy Reid, because as you guys saw at the beginning of this video, Joy Reid went on air to discuss Vivek Ramaswamy getting Don Lemon fired, in which she took issue with the things that Vivek Ramaswamy was saying about the history of this country in regards to the Civil War, the NRA, and securing rights and freedoms for black people. She took issue with it. So instead of bringing Vivek Ramaswamy on to discuss what Vivek Ramaswamy said, she brought on another Indian guy who's a progressive, Ro Khanna, somebody who's going to agree with her, to come on and say the things that, you know, so-called people of color are supposed to say about other people of color that they disagree with, right? That, hey, he ain't really Indian, right? That's basically what Ro Khanna tried to say when, you know, it's funny, I have a ton of Indian friends, and almost none of them are leftists, right? All of them, basically, for the most part, are either, you know, very libertarian leaning, or they're conservative, or they're in the middle. Not a lot of them are actually liberal, right? Indians are pretty fascinating. But anyways, Vivek Ramaswamy challenged Joy Reid to a debate, and of course Joy Reid did not respond. And then Joy Reid mentioned Vivek Ramaswamy once again, basically claiming that Vivek Ramaswamy benefited from affirmative action the same way that she benefited from affirmative action in regards to getting into Harvard, because for whatever reason, Joy Reid thought that it would be a very smart thing to come out and admit on national TV that she only got into Harvard because of affirmative action, which is something that I don't think I would have ever admitted out loud, okay? But again, you know, we all know that Joy Reid is not necessarily the brightest, but hey, you know, she said it out loud. It was beyond me. But anyways, Vivek Ramaswamy has had enough of Joy Reid taking pot shots at him from her network, and he is now calling her out again and basically saying that she is scared to debate him. So without further ado, let's react to it.
Taney held for the Supreme Court. In the Dred Scott case, Chief Justice Taney held for the Supreme Court that black people could not be citizens before the Civil War because that would allow them to own guns. After the Civil War, the first anti-gun laws, gun control laws that were passed in this country, were actually passed to stop black people from owning guns. These are some of the facts that I educated Don Lemon on set in a heated exchange that we had shortly before his firing.
You know what's funny is that in any other context, the left would eat this up, right? They would say, look, yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is the systemic racism that happened towards black people after the Civil War, right? Black people didn't have all their rights and freedoms or whatever, right? Again, they would eat this up if it was in any other context outside of guns. But because he's talking about guns, again, now all of a sudden we're in an upside down world where Democrats don't want to acknowledge so-called systemic racism, right? It's just hilarious how that works.
So shortly after that exchange, Joy Reid, an MSNBC host, has Ro Khanna, a Democratic politician who happens to be an Indian American, as a stand-in for the Indian American view, criticizing me for supposedly stating falsehoods. Actually, everything I stated is factually true based on U.S. history, but criticizing at length my supposed falsehoods, and then has Ro Khanna effectively licking her feet, which is exactly what she wanted on air, talking about how Indian Americans owe black Americans a debt of gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, that is feet licking, bruh. That is feet licking if I ain't ever seen it. Like, bruh, this dude really went on air and said, yeah, us Indians owe you black people something. Let me kiss your feet. That's exactly what he did. Wow, it's funny. It really is.
So I thought it was remarkable that here's a TV host, supposedly who wants to engage in open debate about my views on this post-Civil War history, who's talking about me on air extensively to another Indian American second-rate stand-in, but won't talk to me directly, so I made an offer. I said, if you want to have a debate about this, if you think that your recounting of the post-Civil War history is any different than mine, let's have that debate in the open. What do we get? Silence. This is what the modern left does, and Joy Reid embodies it. Very well, actually. Cower in fear and hide. Talk a big game when you're talking to your own community, when you're talking to the people who agree with you, but cower in fear when it comes to actually confronting the other side in open debate.
Yeah, I remember when she debated Christopher Rufo, right? Y'all remember that debate? The critical race theory stuff. She never let him talk, okay? She did not let him talk. And then in the interview, right? She quite literally lectured the man and told him why he was wrong, but didn't really let him respond, and then ended the interview and didn't have him back on, right? Again, that is Joy Reid's idea of a debate.
Now, more recently, she was spouting off about affirmative action after the Supreme Court came down with its ruling, saying that she would not have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action. I believe her. I think that's probably true.
Yeah. At first, when I first heard her talk about that and I did my reaction video, I was like, Joy Reid said she had good grades and a good SAT score. But honestly, I mean, relative to her competition, it probably wasn't that great, right? So who knows? She probably did get into Harvard based off of affirmative action. Again, her saying it out loud, right, and admitting that probably means that, again, she's not the brightest, okay? That the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor with her for her to say something out loud like that on TV and think that she's making a good point when she's really, again, embarrassing herself. But again, she is an embarrassment. She's not that bright.
But then she also complained that she was judged negatively by her peers because she got in based on affirmative action.
I don't believe that part. I think she made that up.
I actually said that that's wrong. It's wrong to black Americans. It's wrong to Asian Americans or white Americans who are discriminated against. But it's even unfair to black Americans, many of whom I went to school with, who would have gone in meritocratically anyway.
Facts. Which is why you don't need it. There are plenty of black people that will get into these schools without affirmative action and just based off merit. You don't need affirmative action. You really don't.
It's unfair that they're judged that way. So I said so. And then Joy Reid, again, classic pattern, talking about me instead of to me, says that, Vivek Ramaswamy also wouldn't have gotten into Harvard but for affirmative action. That is a lie, and it reflects a shocking combination of gall and ignorance, failing to pay attention to the fact that that case argued in front of the Supreme Court was brought on behalf of Asian Americans, that includes Indian Americans, who are systematically discriminated against, penalized by affirmative action, which rewards Black and Hispanic Americans. So that combination of ignorance but self-confidence embodies the modern left. And the sad part of it is, folks like Joy Reid, again, they have utter, total, apparent comfort with spewing falsehoods and doing it to only the silos and the echo chambers that agree with them. Totally comfortable to talk about me at length and all the reasons why I'm supposedly wrong, when in fact I'm grounded in fact. But what I say is, okay, if I believe in my views and you believe in yours, I'm open to having it out in the open. That's where I talk to Chuck Todd or Don Lemon, go on the Breakfast Club. I show up and believe in open dialogue and debate. That's how we get to truth. It's a shame to see that some of the leading commentators for the modern left, when push comes to shove, really just go back into their caves to hide from the truth, wallowing in their own fear. What I'll say is, Joy, from one alum to another, the offer still stands. I understand why you'd like to hide from debate, but I think it's better for the country if you're actually engaging with the people who disagree with you, rather than talking about them with falsehoods without actually confronting the facts.
Yeah. I got a feeling that Joy Reid is not going to take up Vivek Ramaswamy on this offer, okay? I got a feeling she's going to stay far away from this because she might lose her job, right? She don't want to end up losing her job the same way that Don Lemon lost his job trying to debate Vivek Ramaswamy. But again, it's just so funny how this guy is making so many enemies and they can't stand this man so much. And the reason why, again, is because when it comes to this conversation on race, this guy is a narrative destroyer, right? He destroys the narrative and they can't stand it. It's the one thing that they have, right? The one thing they have is race. They can't give that up, okay? And a guy like Vivek Ramaswamy who basically, again, destroys the narrative, yeah, they're going to try their best to stop this man at all costs. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.